In this video, we are going to talk about 10 common abandonment beliefs in the Fearful Avoidant attachment style. I am Pauline, and I am so happy you are here because the abandonment wound is very real for many fearful avoidants, and it is just so helpful to understand yourself better and to know which are your triggers and which ones kind of trigger that abandonment wound so that you can be more aware and stay present instead of going back into trauma, having emotional flashbacks. So these are just 10 common abandonment beliefs. There are many more, so you can also kind of use this as an exercise because what you can do is take a pencil and paper or a writing book and just write down, if I don't, I will be abandoned. And it will surprise you what comes up. So these are 10 common ones, but please also use this as an exercise. I will explain more at the end. So let's go through them. The first one is, if I don't help or fix or save someone, I'll be abandoned. So this comes from the belief that you are only valuable if you actually do something to help another person, which is very codependent thinking and which is just a sign that you grew up in a codependent dynamic or a codependent relationship. So this makes you feel like, if I don't save somebody, fix somebody, be their savior in a way, I will be abandoned, because then I will have no intrinsic worth and they will just leave me. This probably means that you had to save a parent or you were parentified in whatever way. And you are valuable without you saving or fixing or helping other people, just because you are you. The second one is, if I express needs, I will be abandoned. So if I don't suppress my needs, I will be abandoned. I will be too much. I will be difficult. And I am already hanging by a thread as it is, so I should not be difficult or too much or do anything more to make them go away. This is how I felt for years and years. Maybe you recognize that feeling of like, every single relationship, every single friendship, it felt like it was hanging by a thread, and every single thing I could do wrong, I would be abandoned. But also, if I would just have needs, if I would take up space, if I would be difficult, if I would voice my opinion, I would be abandoned. And so I would suppress everything and just adapt. And actually being in a healthy relationship triggered so much in this that I actually got to express my needs, and they were important to my then boyfriend, now husband. And that was just so confusing to me, and I could go down a whole path. I will make a different video on that. what that did to be in a healthy relationship all of a sudden, and what that brought up. I will write it down as a video topic. To be in a healthy relationship. Okay. So expressing needs and therefore being too much or difficult might cause me to be abandoned. The third one is, if I don't meet expectations, I will be abandoned. So this just makes you pretty much a slave to everybody around you, because as soon as somebody has an expectation of you, you believe that you have to meet that expectation. You believe that you have to do that. And you have to be that person. And you have to do it in exactly the way they want to, because otherwise you will be abandoned. This is just so suffocating to live like this. A lot of dismissives have this too, that they feel like they have to meet everybody's expectation, and so they just kind of retreat completely. Fearful avoidants have this too, and they can either retreat or try to meet those expectations and burn themselves out while doing it. So meeting expectations is just such an interesting topic in and of itself, but feeling like you have to is like you're chained, is like you don't have any say or right over your own time or energy. And that is just not true. Nobody around you, not even your parents, have a right to your time and energy. They cannot tell you what to do. And if they have expectations, that is on them. That is their expectations. It is not your responsibility to meet those expectations. This to me was just, when I truly felt this, and I healed a lot around this, it was so liberating. And that was the first time that I felt and realized I can just create the life that I want, that I truly want, that feels good to me. Did you know that the number one regret that people who are towards the end of their lives have is that they didn't live a life true to themselves? And that is because they were so busy meeting everybody's expectations, because they didn't want to disappoint, they didn't want to be abandoned. But then you get to the end of your life and you look back and you're like, wait, what? I did not live my life according to what I wanted. And so when I healed this, it just felt like a whole world opened up. And it really helped in my depression too, because I felt for so long like, what's the use? What's the use of having energy, of being happy, of really going for life and having a zest for life? Because then I just have to meet everybody's expectation. This wasn't a very conscious thought, obviously, but when I realized that this was kind of running in the background, it made so much sense that I would tend towards depression or depressed feelings. So when I released this, it just opened up so much happiness and so much feeling like I had taken back control over my life, and I was allowed to create a life that I wanted, just for me. And that still is one of the most beautiful and liberating things about having healed the fearful avoidant attachment style. The fourth one is, if I am weak, if I am failing, or if I'm behind, then I will be abandoned. And I think this definitely comes from trauma. It is also almost like a primal instinct, because if you look at, animals, mammals, if an animal is weak or behind or failing, they could be a potential prey. So I think this is also a little bit of a primal thing, but it is definitely also trauma informed, because we don't live in herds anymore and have to fend for our lives, because otherwise a tiger will attack us. So it's just a social thing. And there are so many people who are failing, who make mistakes, who are weak, who are behind, and are still very much loved and socially accepted and just belong. And so knowing that should be enough for you to say, oh, then it doesn't matter. Well, of course it doesn't work like that, because you have trauma around this. You had the experience that you were abandoned if you felt weak, or you failed, or you were behind. And so it really helps to heal this, to let this go, and to know that even when you are weak, even when you are failing, even when you are behind, you are worthy, you are valuable, you are loved through all of that. That is what you've always deserved. And the fact that you didn't get that doesn't say anything about you. It just says that you didn't get a secure, attached childhood, and you may as well had that. It wasn't you. It was just dumb luck in a way. So that's the fourth. The fifth is, if I am too powerful, I will be abandoned, because a lot of fearful avoidant parents have this fear of losing control. And when their child is too powerful in whatever way, they feel like they are losing control. And so they are always finding ways to make you feel less powerful. They are probably not aware of doing this. But that probably gave you the experience that when you were powerful, when you voiced your opinions powerfully, that you were ridiculed or you were dismissed by your fearful avoidant parent. And so that made you believe that if I am too powerful, I will be abandoned. So it's not safe to be too powerful. Then the sixth is, if I am not who they want me to be, I will be abandoned. So if I am not who somebody else wants me to be as a person, the image that they have of me, so this goes maybe even beyond expectations, it really is like an identity kind of thing. If I don't adapt to their version of me, then I will be abandoned. And of course, this is like a um bigger picture thing of the biggest regret, right? Having lived a life true to yourself, or having lived as yourself, just who you are, whether that's weak, whether that's super powerful, whether that's you making mistakes because you're human. We all are. We're all messy humans. So just being who you are, if that feels threatening, that will make you adapt to whatever version somebody has of you, your partner, your friends. And it makes sense, right? Because when you were younger, it was either adapt and therefore not be yourself to stay in connection, in some sort of connection with your fearful avoidant parent, or be yourself but then break the connection. And so that means you're being abandoned. So finding a way to be yourself and still be in that connection. I mean, healing just does that. You will still be yourself, because it's not that who you are right now is so far away from who you really are. It's just really some shifts in the way you see things and the way you think about things, more than that you would just become a whole different person. So I think we're usually scared to be ourselves, because that, what would that mean? I had a whole discussion with somebody not too long ago. She was a therapist, and she said, I'm not allowed to, I'm not a woo-woo person. And she said that very matter-of-factly, and I said, okay, but who doesn't want you to be a woo-woo person? And she stopped and she said, my husband. And she started crying. And she said, yeah, he's always telling me I, have to keep both feet on the ground, and I'm not, I shouldn't turn into, we have this saying in Dutch, zweefteef, we have this word for it. I don't know if there's a word for it in English, but I shouldn't turn into somebody woo-woo. And I said, okay, but what does woo-woo look like? Because even if, you would still be you, and he loves you. So sometimes we, and even our partners, have this image of something that we're scared of, when it actually, in fact, is not as scary as we make it out to be. So you have this image maybe of, somebody in like long purple dresses is a woo-woo person, but there's so many ways to be yourself, and it doesn't mean you adhere to a specific way that looks, if you still are following what I'm saying. So yeah, that adapting to whatever somebody wants or doesn't want from us, it just takes so much energy. And so the interesting thing is that she actually talked to her husband about the whole question. Well, what does woo-woo look like? Like, what is that zweefteef? What is that person that is so woo-woo? What does that look like, and what scares you in that? And she said it was such a beautiful conversation, and we ended the conversation with, well, yeah, it's not a set thing. It's not a black and white thing. And he actually said, I would love you no matter what you would wear or how you would look or how you would act. So it was just kind of like this vague idea that he had that he was scared of. But when they unpacked it together, they actually realized there really wasn't anything to be scared of. Interesting, right? All right, the seventh is, if I'm not perfect, then I will be abandoned. And for the fearful avoidant especially, I mean, this can be in so many different areas, but what is very specific to the fearful avoidant is if I'm not perfect in my feelings. So most fearful avoidants have been brought up with the idea, I have to be somewhat happy all the time. Not too happy, not elated, because that will be out of control. That's not safe. But definitely also not grumpy or sad or angry or frustrated or any of the negative feelings, because that's unsafe too. So just happy enough to be comfortable for my fearful avoidant parent who has a lot of problems dealing with emotions and feelings, and so they can't really deal with anything else than me just being somewhat happy. So if I'm not perfect, I'm being abandoned. If I'm sad, I'm being abandoned. If I'm frustrated, I'm being abandoned. If I'm just confused about what I'm feeling, I'm being abandoned. If I'm too happy, I'm being abandoned. If I'm just see what you were allowed to be and to what extent, and feel that any other feeling around that just kind of feels unsafe and feels like you are being abandoned. And that's why when we are feeling things that we haven't learned how to process, our fear brain is trying to find a really bad thing that will happen when we allow that feeling. And in relationships, that usually is, well, if I allow this feeling to be there, this tension that I'm feeling, this fear that I'm feeling, then that will mean that this relationship isn't right for me and I have to break up, and I don't want to break up. So your fear brain is trying to find a reason in now for you not to feel this feeling and to suppress it, because it's just so unsafe to feel it. Yeah, I will talk about this more in another video. But having to have perfect feelings is just so exhausting. It's so exhausting. So healing this is also very freeing, to not be scared of any feeling anymore and to just be an empty vessel for all your feelings is deeply healing. I so wish that for you. The 8th one is, if I don't perform, succeed, am smart, or achieve, I will be abandoned. So this is for a lot of fearful avoidance the truth, but also for a lot of dismissives, that you are only valuable when you perform, achieve, are smart. Because when you have a lot of trouble with connection, the next best thing is getting attention and adoration for who you are, or what you have achieved. And so it kind of bypasses who you are as a person, and that fact that you just are valuable the way you are, even if you don't perform, if you don't succeed, if you're not smart or saying not smart things and you don't achieve. So yeah, a lot of fearful avoidants have some healing to do around this. And then the 9th one is, if I'm not special or a victim, I will be abandoned. This is another way to keep somebody with you. So you can either go the achieving and performing route, or you can go the special victim route, and you can definitely do both. I did both for years and years and years. But the special thing is, sometimes we have to suffer in a special way. We have to suffer so much, so uniquely, so grandiose, that we are just very it would be mean of another person to leave you. And so we kind of turn it to it being a character thing for them. Like we suffer so much that if they would leave, they would be a horrible person. And that's how we try to bond them to us. That's how we try to keep them close to us. And this is just trauma. It is something you can release. It is something you can heal. And actually realizing and experiencing that people are with you just because they want to be with you is just so incredibly validating. I so wish for you that you would experience that somewhere in your life, where you would heal and release this wanting to be special or wanting to be a victim just to keep other people close to you, and just realize that even when you are completely okay, and not special and not a victim, that you are deeply loved. That you are deeply loved, because that would just take away so much suffering. And then the 10th one is, if I make a mistake or hurt other people, I will be abandoned. So I have to be absolutely perfect, not make mistakes whatsoever in any moment, And this is obviously completely impossible. So this is just too big of a burden to bear. And this is why, for a lot of fearful avoidance, a relationship just feels like so there's so much tension around it, because they feel like they cannot make one mistake. They are not allowed to make one mistake, and when they say something wrong or do something wrong, it's like, well, this is it. Now I've done it. Now everything is lost. And that's when they lash out. That's when they have the fearful avoidant behaviors, because they feel so vulnerable and they feel like they are going to lose you anyway, and so they may as well just push you away so that it doesn't hurt as much to lose you. I know it may seem to not make sense, but it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. So if you heal this belief that you are not allowed to make mistakes or not allowed to hurt anybody ever, it will help you relax into relationships and actually enjoy them and actually enjoy the moment, which is amazing and which is completely what you deserve. So these are 10 common abandonment beliefs in the fearful avoidant attachment style. And like I said, there are more. There are probably like 100. These are just very common. And I really invite you to sit down and start writing, if I don't, ... fill in the blank, I will be abandoned, because it will be so insightful for you to see the ways you are afraid you will be abandoned. It will help you in your relationships. It will help you recognize when it is happening in the moment, and it will definitely help you heal so much. And that's what I wish for you, to be free of all these beliefs and just be yourself and enjoy your relationship and enjoy your life, which is so possible. If that's what you want, please check out the program Healed and Happy. There's a link in the description below. This is what we do. We go through all of these beliefs, we heal the core wounds, and before you know it, you notice that you are just feeling better and you are feeling more relaxed and just worthy of love and all the good things in life, without having to work so hard for it, and without having to like hold on and control and make sure that people don't abandon you. Just being able to rest in that, knowing that people are going to be there no matter what. That is just wealth that you cannot even really explain. It's just, it feels so beautiful. And that's absolutely what I wish for you. Please let me know in the comments below if this was valuable to you. And as always, I am so happy you are here, and I will see you in the next one.
Healed and Happy is a tailor-made online program where me and my team personally guide you through healing the roots of the fearful avoidant attachment style.